What is the most popular Superman story ever told? Some might say it's the death of Superman, while others would say it has to be Superman's birth. But there's one Superman story that beats them all. That's right, this is the story that started it all, the Man of Steel's first adventure. Yes, we are talking about the original Superman story from Action Comics #1. And to be more specific, what if Zod had won that fight in the Fortress of Solitude? Well, let's find out. What's up, Nerd Squad? Here's our channel, and we're counting down 5 moments in comic book history that could have changed everything, and we're starting with Zod's triumph. What if Superman never won? At number 5, we have the origin of an icon. On June 1938, the world was changed forever when an unknown hero made his first appearance in Detective Comics #27. In the pages of this comic, we got to see the likes of Batman, Robin, and even an early version of Wonder Woman. But for many people, this issue was overshadowed by another hero who also made his debut in these pages. Yes, we are talking about the first appearance of Superman, the Man of Steel, but Superman wasn't the only one making his first appearance in this issue. Along with Superman, we got to meet his arch-nemesis, General Zod. Now, Zod didn't actually appear in this comic, but he was mentioned. We don't get to see the General until 2 issues later in Action Comics #1. The Man of Steel was still an unknown quantity to the world. He had just saved Jimmy Olsen from some goons, but he was now being hunted by someone far more dangerous than any human thug. General Zod had come to Earth with one goal in mind, and that was to capture Superman and take him back to Krypton. Superman had been fighting Zod for the whole comic, but this didn't last long. The Kryptonians were just way too powerful for our heroes, and they easily dispatched him. But this would be short-lived as Superman managed to get away and live to fight another day. At number 4, we have Krypton's last hope. General Zod wanted Superman for one reason, and that was to save Krypton. As we all know, Krypton was destroyed before Superman was born. This meant that Superman was the last son of Krypton, which made him a living Kryptonian. So this meant that by capturing Superman, Zod could use him to rebuild Krypton. As we all know, Zod doesn't end up succeeding in this mission, but what if he did? Let's imagine for a moment that Zod took Superman back to Krypton. This would have given the General the ultimate Kryptonian soldier. Just imagine if Zod brainwashed Superman into joining him. It would have given the General an army of one. With this newfound power, Zod would have rebuilt Krypton, and it would have become the greatest empire in the universe. At number 3, we have Metropolis in ruins. You think Zod would have stopped at just rebuilding Krypton? Of course not. Once he had Superman on his side, he would use the Man of Steel to conquer other planets. But where would he start? Well, why not with Superman's home, Metropolis? In the comics, we've seen Metropolis get destroyed several times, but it always manages to rebuild itself. But what if Zod destroyed the city beyond repair? Imagine Metropolis being leveled to the ground, all those skyscrapers reduced to rubble. Even worse, imagine all the innocent people being wiped out. If this happened, then there would be no hope for Superman. At number 2, we have the end of hope. In the main continuity, Superman eventually defeats Zod, but things don't end well for the Kryptonian. As Zod is sent to the Phantom Zone, he vows revenge against Superman and the people of Earth. And even though he's gone, Superman still feels like he needs to protect Earth. So what does he do? Well, he decides to fly around the world so he can let everyone know that he is here to help. As we all know, Superman's a beacon of hope for people all over the world. But what if Zod managed to snuff that hope out? What if instead of flying around the world, Superman remained trapped in Metropolis? If this happened, then it would give Zod the upper hand. Without hope, people would turn on Superman and demand that he leaves Earth. This would leave Superman with no choice but to flee, and as we all know, once Superman leaves Earth, it's game over. At number 1, we have the death of a god. In the comics, we've seen Superman die several times, and each time he comes back, he becomes even stronger than before. But what if Zod ended Superman's life for good? When Superman died in the Death of Superman storyline, the world mourned the loss of their hero. People left flowers and toys outside of Lex Luthor E's building as they believed he was responsible for Superman E's death. But it was Zod who was truly behind Superman's death. But how exactly did Zod manage to defeat the Man of Steel? Well, Zod used kryptonite to weaken Superman and then delivered the killing blow. Once Superman was down, Zod stood over him and delivered a monologue explaining how he was responsible for Krypton's destruction. As we all know, Superman came back to life, but what if this was the end for the last son of Krypton? If this happened, then the world would fall into chaos. Without Superman to protect the planet, it would be up to the Justice League to hold things together, but even they would struggle to keep order without Superman on their side. It would be every villain for themselves as they tried to claim Earth as their own, but not every member of the Justice League would remain heroic. Some members would succumb to the dark side and rule over the planet with an iron fist. Some would say that the world wouldn't change much because Batman would take over as the world's #1 hero, but Batman was very clear that he was only Gotham's hero. He would never try to become the world's hero. It would be up to Nightwing to carry on Batman's legacy, but he would struggle to live up to the Dark Knight's legend. As we saw in Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis became Batman after Bruce Wayne retired, but Terry was reluctant to become the new Batman. He felt he couldn't live up to the legend that was Bruce Wayne, but Terry would eventually grow into the role and become the new Batman. The same thing would happen with Dick Grayson. He would eventually accept his role as Batman, but not without feeling like he was letting Bruce down. But what would happen to the rest of the Justice League? Would Wonder Woman step up and lead the team? Well, she would struggle to lead the team, but she would be aided by Aquaman. Together, the two would try to hold the Justice League together. But what about the Flash? Well, Wally West would try to keep things lighthearted, but it wouldn't work. Everyone was too afraid of what would happen next. The Justice League would disband and Earth would be plunged into total darkness. And that's 5 moments in comic book history that could have changed everything. What would you do if Zod captured Superman? Be sure to tell us in the comments below. This has been your host, and until next time, stay awesome.